So, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Episode 8. If you've somehow managed to miss the other 7, 3/7 of that is fine. But there are 4 other ones that you should watch. But this one is, here's the plot synopsis. Rey develops her newly discovered abilities with the guidance of Luke Skywalker, who is unsettled by the strength of her powers. Meanwhile, the Resistance prepares to do battle with the First Order. So, that's that. Currently rated on Rotten Tomatoes at a 93% certified fresh with a 56% audience score, which is impressively different. And then
it is the most divisive.
Yeah, and then over on IMDb, it's got a 7.9 out of 10. It's got an 86% on Metascore, and now we are going to rate it for you right now. So, Kyle, what does the Ginger Giant say for Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
You're starting off on the low note.
Starting out on the low note.
This is the 5th best Star Wars movie, so I'm giving it a 6.
Okay. Wrong. Kyle and I have been talking about this movie. We went and saw it like about the same time, and then we've been around each other all, like a few hours yesterday, a few hours today. We've just been talking about it, and
you say wrong, and you have it as the 4th.
I've been in pretty much a constant state of poking the bear about it.
Hence Ginger Giantness probably going to come out in this a little bit.
So it's been fun. So that's a 6 out of the Ginger Giant. Kris Too, what do you got?
Without going into my other rankings, I'm just going to say it's better than the prequels. I'm going to give it a 7.
That's exactly where I rate it.
Just better than the prequels.
Better than the prequels.
If I were to give
and above Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
No, see, I'm not rating it above Return of the Jedi, but I am rating it like if I were to give you my full breakdown of all the movies, including Rogue One, I would put this better than the prequels, and way better than the prequels. Like it's not just like a squeak above.
And that's
prequels are. But
MF Dane, what do you rate it?
A 9.5.
9.5. Big jump.
Best Star Wars movie in your opinion?
No. Empire.
So Empire's what? 9.75?
Oh, Empire. Yeah, Empire's 9.75. Empire is like you're pretty much there at almost there. I'm just being stubborn. It's like
I'm just being
be real.
stubborn.
I'm just being stubborn. But yeah, Empire is 9.75. This is 9.5. This is like probably my second favorite one I've ever watched since like Empire. Like Bow's better than the prequels. Like it's over New Hope, but it's like New Hope is 9.25.
So you're saying this is the Empire of the new trilogy?
Yeah, I doubt. I have no faith in third movies ever. So as much as I like this movie, and J.J. Abrams is coming back to make the third one. So all I'm feeling about the next movie is it's probably going to be the third one.
So for me, I rate it because I don't count Rogue One as this. I don't count it in rankings because it's an auxiliary story.
Yeah,
it's not needed, but it's fun to have. Rogue One was excellent. Rogue One, I rated, I think, a 9, 8.5.
And that's fine to rank it that way.
Yeah.
And what I am saying is
I haven't given my ranking yet. I'm trying to rank it and rate it.
Rank it. Go for it.
So I'm saying Empire, New Hope, Last Jedi. That's my ranking. Because
I'll agree with you on that.
I liked it better than Force Awakens, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I gave it an 8. I think it's up there. I think it's a good sci-fi movie. It had about 30 minutes that I didn't need.
At least.
But it didn't. It only expanded the Star Wars universe. It didn't hurt the movie, I think.
No, not at all.
I think. But we'll talk about it.
Sweet.
So
and so the only reason, and I just want to draw the comparison before we get into it. The only reason
we're still spoiler free right now.
Right, we are. That I'm saying a Star Wars movie, the fifth bet, and I would call Rogue One in that because I have not heard a good argument for why Rogue One wouldn't fit. It is a prequel to A New Hope.
Because it's not an episode.
Who cares?
So I'm only ranking the episodes.
Okay, great.
Because
Semantics.
that's the continuous story.
Great.
Rogue One.
Semantics
Han
is the
Solo.
difference then.
Yeah. It's not an episode film. It's a Star Wars story.
Then then I fit. Great. That's fine. You and I 100% agree then.
On what?
On the rankings of the movies. Oh, no, I put a Force Awakens ahead
You
of
put
it.
Force Awakens ahead of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so did I.
yeah. I disagree with that because I
Too.
didn't like The Force Awakens as much as I enjoyed this.
Like
But-
I was watching The Force Awakens before this, and I felt the same way.
But let's talk about love it's and hate it's. And we are amped right now. And
Yes.
everybody is. I'll say this as a whole. Everyone enjoyed the movie.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I preface love it and hate it because we're about to get super heated
Yeah.
over the most like minuscule things for a movie that we all really enjoyed.
100%.
Yes.
Ginger Giant saying, I enjoyed this movie. And I also
Yeah.
think this is, like, you're hearing all of these
You
different
enjoyed
opinions.
it barely more than X-Men Apocalypse, but you enjoyed it.
It's
I enjoyed X-Men Apocalypse. It
Right.
wasn't a good movie.
right. I'm just poking the bear.
Yeah,
still.
absolutely. So what I also wanted to say, sorry, Chris, for cutting you off, but, like, this is
Go
indicative
ahead.
of the conversation out in the world right now.
Oh,
People
absolutely.
are having this conversation
Oh,
over
yeah.
coffee. They're going to
yeah,
have it in the workplace tomorrow. Like,
I've been
this-
on Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit's blown up. Like
It's
this
insane.
is people loved it, saying this is the best Star Wars movie that's come out. Some people are saying that, and some people are decrying it as the worst thing they've ever watched. And I'm not saying that.
It was
we're
better than
between
the
those two
sequels.
extremes.
It is better than the sequels.
Yeah. So before we get into love it and hate it, average rating 7.6 from Between the Cons. Keep that in mind that it's a solid C+. As we move into love it and hate it, Kyle, Ginger Giant, what did you love?
So now is the time. If you have not seen the movie and you do not want it spoiled, stop here.
Oh man, you're starting by poking the bear. Oh,
I am.
interesting.
Well, I do that
Oh,
because
man,
I feel
was
like
ready to like rest for a second and listen to.
I
other
feel like
people.
we're all on the same page with everyone else's love it's and hate it's.
Yeah,
Except for yours.
yeah.
So we'll get the bulk of the conversation.
Fair enough.
Right here.
Fair enough. Okay, so the absolute coolest thing that happened in this movie, the thing that I loved, happened in the first like hour of the film, and it's between Rey and Luke.
Yep.
And Luke is like,
Mentor.
mentor.
Hashtag Yoda status.
Absolutely. Which is sort of part of my hate it. But so Luke is explaining why the Jedi need to die. And he's explaining the vanity of the Jedi and
Right.
that they are the only ones who can control the Force. And he is trying to pass on to Rey the fact that that the Force is available to everyone. And that absolutely it expands the dimensions of
it's
the Star
cool.
Wars
Yeah.
universe tenfold.
Right.
Yes.
There's a sweet
Yes.
moment at the very end of the movie that I mean, maybe we don't even want to talk about in the spoilers part of it because it's like a sweet moment, but like it exemplifies that point.
Yeah.
That
And
the
No, this is-
Force
good.
is
This
huge.
is spoilers. It's worth talking about.
yeah, and
No,
I
little
think
kid.
that is probably from a plot standpoint. Like not like just a moment, but like from a full story universe standpoint, that is the coolest thing that happened in the movie.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, and that was the point of what Luke was talking about. That was the point of really, I believe, what they're setting up for future movies. When Yoda has that quote, "We are what they grow beyond. That is the burden of all masters,"
Yeah, that was
which
great.
I just,
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, I love that line. That just, as soon as I heard it, it's like, yes, and that combined with what you were just talking about. Kyle, with what Luke was teaching. I'm hoping that's what the future of Star Wars movies does. Is it moves beyond this. It's just the Skywalker family. It's just these few people. It's just the Jedi with the Force. Like, no, it belongs to everybody. We can grow beyond it. We can take what was good about the originals and then and grow and see what else is out there. See the possibilities.
Yeah.
Explore those possibilities.
And a piece of it that I really love too is that it wasn't a huge part. Like, it wasn't an explosion. It wasn't like
they didn't even make a big deal about it.
That's what I mean. It was like in the middle of the conversation. And I think the Star Wars movies don't do that enough, where it like gives you important things, like sort of like underneath other things.
Right.
Like it's pretty kind of hit you in the face.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's gonna happen, and there's sort of some subterfuge, but not a whole lot. Like that's sort of something that's a little nugget that we all need to like know and be excited about for the future.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why Disney is giving Rian Johnson his own trilogy coming out of this. I'm pretty sure
I didn't know that.
Like that philosophy is what's driving. It drove the undertone of this story, and I think that's what he's excited about going forward.
Yeah. So what?
And I am too. I think it's great.
So really cool thing, expanding just kind of our idea of the Force.
Yeah.
So what did you hate?
Here we go.
All right.
He just stood up.
Here's the thing.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing. All right. Here's the thing. Everyone hated on The Force Awakens because it's the same movie as A New Hope, right? Basically shot for shot. It's basically A New Hope.
Right.
That is the main thing people complain about it.
Yep.
There isn't other complaints about that movie.
Oh, there are other complaints.
I have not
there
heard
are.
them.
But
I have not heard them from this group.
That is the main one.
That is the main one.
You didn't listen to this podcast. If you didn't,
That was
if you didn't
3 years ago.
But there were other complaints from this mouth about that movie. But that is
the main
consensus.
complaint.
That is the largest complaint about the
That
movie.
should be the largest complaint about this movie. Because, for several reasons. One,
but on a more piece by piece than
film
as a whole.
I will probably give you that.
Yeah, because it was not Empire, but there were lots of pieces from other movies.
Empire.
So,
Empire.
okay, let me make my point.
You have one scene from Empire, and you've got one big scene from like Return of the Jedi, and like that's really it.
Incorrect. So, Rey goes to another island to get trained by a Jedi that's been lost.
Right.
Yep, that's Empire.
That's Luke and Yoda.
That's Luke and Yoda.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah, right.
There's an X-wing in the water, right? She doesn't have to go and release it up, but they're stealing shots from Empire. The Hoth scene at the beginning of Empire is basically the end of the movie that we just watched. You can say it was a battle on Hoth, and this was a raid on a base for like, but it's
Right.
both. But they're both battles to destroy the rebellion.
Sure.
And they both
Alright.
had cool little ships that they were flying around in, trying to destroy the AT-ATs. And yes, it culminated in something different, but those two scenes are basically the same scene. And then
I'm just letting you go.
Two other huge ones, like torture with the Force from Snoke and torture with the Force from the Emperor, happened in the same way. They basically stole the shot of Luke getting electrocuted from Return of the King and did that with Rey.
Return of the King.
Return of the King.
Return of the King.
Return of the King.
They stole
Lord
Lord of the Rings. Those
Lord of the
jerks.
Rings side stories movies are coming out. It's gonna be great. Return of the Jedi.
Nothing
Like,
original.
Snoke like takes Rey's lightsaber and puts it on his little chair, just like the Emperor does in Return of the King.
Hits her in the back of the head with
Yeah,
it.
they sneak into the ship just like they snuck into the Death Star and put on these uniforms and had a droid hack them in. Like these are shot for shot steals from old movies.
Duplicated plot devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, I that is my main complaint. That is my hate it. That there was so much stealing from particularly Empire and Return of the Jedi.
So when you break it down like that, because when we've talked about it, it's been like this scene is this scene, and that's why I hated it. But like when you break it down like that,
I've talked about multiple things with you.
But when you break it down like that, and like you look at it more of like a plot device,
yeah,
than the scene itself, because there are a lot of differences between the scene. Like The Force Awakens was the movie plot, start to finish, was damn near identical to New Hope.
To A New Hope.
This one there were a lot of plot devices. So it was kind of the same complaint, but a different way to look at it, because it's the plot devices, not the plot itself. Because the first A New Hope and Force Awakens, like, band of rebellion people get together to blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
Band of rebellion people get together to blow
young
up.
child.
But that's Star Wars in a nutshell.
But but like, hold on, boys and girls. But for Force Awakens and New Hope, even the details within the plot for those
are the
two
exact
movies
same.
Follow very, very parallel paths. With this, comparing it to Empire, they are not.
And Return of the Jedi.
Comparing this one to Empire,
Okay.
they are not parallel paths. Comparing it to Empire and Return, they're not parallel paths. But a lot of plot devices are borrowed, and that's what you hate.
Okay, fine, sure, that's what I hate.
I'm asking you, like, is that what you're saying?
I agree that where Empire ended and where this movie ended are different places.
Right.
And so was the other one, and so was Force Awakens. There was a different ending. Like they followed scene for scene plot shots more in Force Awakens than this movie. Yes.
Okay.
The parentage whole plot part of Empire and Rey's parentage is the same. Like, okay, so it was plot devices that I hated more than the actual plot.
Then the remake argument that people have for The Force Awakens versus New Hope.
Sure.
I'm asking you. Like, I'm not telling you this is what you think. I'm just asking, like, is that what you're saying? Like, is it more the plot devices than this is a shot-for-shot remake? Or it has so many scenes that it feels like a shot-for-shot remake of two different movies?
I guess I felt the latter, that it was more of a shot-for-shot remake of Empire when I was watching it. Because I was noticing all of the things.
But now it's
talking
different?
about it, it's all these, like...
It's just the little stuff kind of coming together to create this, like, return of the strike back.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I just wanted to help you get that one out, because I felt like that's what you were saying.
Sure.
And that's what I was hearing.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure we were saying the same
And
thing.
So that wouldn't change my rating at all.
Oh, no. And I wasn't expecting it to.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, like...
No, I'm, like, working this out right now, too, though.
I don't know. We're processing this right now.
Kris Too.
This is a wacky exchange I'm witnessing right now.
What do you guys think about that?
While Kyle stews in the revelation that he's having right now, what do you guys think?
I would agree. I would agree that you are absolutely right that they pulled the. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, that they're commenting on or mirroring scenes we've seen before.
The plot devices.
The plot devices.
Because this is the conundrum that we're in right now. You have to be specific.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me, because honestly, it's kind of what I was just saying about the line that Yoda had, is that in many ways this movie referenced the older movies, but then flipped the script, changed things, like
What's
like
different?
like the scene with Snoke and the lightsaber sitting on his chair. The thing is that scene didn't play out the way that scene didn't culminate the way the one in Return of the Jedi did. And that's what I liked about it, is that it set it up like, this looks very familiar. And for a hot second, I was afraid that, oh, darn it, Snoke is going to just be the emperor figure to Kylo's Darth Vader, and we're going to get the same thing we've gotten before. And then that whole thing with Kylo twirling the lightsaber and stabbing him through the gut and ripping it out, and then Rey and
Which, in fairness,
Kylo,
let's be real, that was awesome.
I
loved it.
No, but I agree with you, Chris, that, like, that was one thing that I liked a lot about it compared to like just while we're on this hate it, comparing it to The Force Awakens, whereas like The Force Awakens had those callback moments where it would set up a scene similar to like one of the original trilogy, and then it would play out exactly the same. And then in this, it would set up a scene to give you that callback, and then it would turn out differently.
And again, it was that theme that things are changing. If you want to, like, with Yoda saying that the new ones must surpass the old, or even Kylo saying that you need to burn
love it against him.
No,
you need to burn. You need to burn the past down. And I'm not saying I don't agree that we should get rid of the original trilogy at all, but
Agreed.
We do need to head. If Star Wars is going to continue to be relevant to us in our time, or continue to comment and resonate with us, it's got to continue to evolve. It doesn't mean we abandon the past, but I love that in moments like that, we see it, we recognize it, we think it's going to go the same way, but in actuality, it could go a different direction. And I agreed, that moment with Rey and Kylo fighting off the Praetorian Guard, that whole scene was amazing. And I think, and what it ultimately meant for the greater direction of the franchise. I'm glad Snoke is gone. Get rid of him.
I want to know who he is.
I didn't want him.
I was like, I didn't give a crap about Snoke. I didn't care about Snoke. I knew they were just going to hype him up to be a new emperor. I know that, like, with franchising, we're going to get a novelization of Snoke.
Yeah.
We're going to entire backstory. So I ain't sweating it. I was excited about this whole
Read the book, Chris.
Exactly what Chris was saying. Like, I loved all those callbacks because they were there to subvert, like, all your expectations. Like, they wanted you to think that all these things are going to just follow the exact same way, but they wanted to also show you that we want to expand on the entire Star Wars as a whole. Like, I feel like this movie was like their way of saying that. Like, all the crappy things they did, also, like everything failed. No, not. I'll get to this later. But yeah, all the callbacks, changing expectations to me are what I just like the whole subversion thing.
So to close out this point, and we can move on to other people. How does the ending of this movie differ from the ending of Empire? And I'm asking honestly because I do not remember. What I recall is that the rebellion was broken. Right?
Well, I mean,
I don't remember.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
How does it differ?
Yes.
Generally
speaking, not specifically, but like, Luke, I am your father, and he falls down and gets rescued.
I think the fact that it's ending. I think it's different in the way that it's ending with your love it. The promise that, and kind of what Leia said to Rey at the end, like, we have all we need to rebuild or whatever, is the fact that, and then it ends in that final shot of the kid on the planet using the Force in such a minute way, but basically saying that the future is bright because we can actually.
No.
We can. This can actually.
What's the ending of Empire?
Oh, the ending of Empire.
Legitimately
don't remember.
I mean,
it's when like it's like them on the ship.
They're on the medical ship. Luke got his new hand. They saved him from Cloud City, and it just ends with them.
It's the same thing, guys.
Han is
the rebellion was broken and Han's taken. We don't know where he is.
There's no one in Carbonite.
Okay, yeah, great.
But it's different.
Move on to somebody else. Yeah, you can pick scene by scene and say the plot's different.
The end of Empire ended with them having an objective to go for. This one, their objective is literally like, I guess we just stopped the Empire. Like, and no one really knows. That's the best part of this movie. The ending doesn't really give you a good example of what they're going to do. Like, with the end of Empire, the next movie is going to start with them trying to save Han Solo.
And that's why it's the best Star Wars movie.
What Kyle is saying is that it ends with the rebellion is broken. There's a much smaller force and a very big task ahead.
Yep.
And this movie ends with the rebellion is broken.
There's ridiculously really small force.
Yeah, there's
like
a really small force,
in the rebellion now.
And there's a big task to accomplish. Just like the ending of Fellowship of the Ring, or the ending of
any team up movie ever.
Any team up movie ever. Yeah.
Probably how Infinity War is going to end.
At all right now. That is not the point, nor is it the ending of those movies. And we haven't seen a second trilogy of Lord of the Rings movies, or I'd be making the same
You would be making the same argument.
Yeah.
And we did see The Hobbit, and it was
Awful.
awful.
I
yeah.
won't dispute that. We're not talking about The Hobbit.
No,
my
no.
section is
I'm just saying.
I never
I'm just
thought past
saying.
the first.
I'm just saying that plot devices.
Or recycle.
I agree that plot devices were recycled,
and the
and-
worst part of the movie.
and not the worst part of the movie, but they were distracting.
Not for me.
I'll give you that.
Great. Move on.
Kris Too.
Yeah.
Love it and hate it.
Loved Luke. Loved everything about Luke in this. I loved seeing him again. I loved getting to know him again.
Getting
I
killed by
loved-
Ben was great. Just like
Huh?
Ben was killed, Ben Kenobi in A New Hope. That was great.
Okay, you've had your time.
No one cares anymore about your callbacks.
And he didn't die like Ben Kenobi. If anything, he died like Yoda. Just
Yeah, he
fading
died-
away.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
That's
but no, I loved everything about Luke. I loved him training. I loved seeing him having been disillusioned and then like regaining his hope between working with Rey, because helping him like working with Rey helped him regain his hope. Talking with Yoda, which by the way, that Yoda scene was clutch,
It was close.
Oh my
loved it.
God.
and I loved that it was puppet.
he got
puppet
such
Yoda,
a
like,
chubby face in the afterlife.
Yeah, he did.
But and I mean, even for moments of Luke, like when he went back on the Falcon, and then R2-D2 woke up and he was talking to him, and like, well, the first moment that he saw R2, and he's like R2, and you like saw 20 years fall off of Mark Hamill's face in that moment.
Yeah.
And he was a kid again, and it was
Right.
beautiful. And then R2 played the clip of Leia, and it.
that was
And he was like, oh, that was a dirty trick. And I was like, yeah, but it was good because I'm sitting here crying. Oh, it was great. I loved Luke. I loved seeing
Yeah.
a Luke that it's almost like, I mean, it's almost like he's given up, but he hasn't quite given up. And wrestling with his own faults and blaming himself. His story, I wish, honestly, if anything else, I wish we had more of his backstory. And I know there'll be a book and whatever.
I was
I
gonna say,
don't-
we're gonna get the book, you know.
No, I loved Luke. I think having Mark Hamill back was awesome. They better bring him back as a Force ghost in the third movie
Oh, for sure.
because Mark Hamill is a national treasure and we don't deserve him.
That's fair.
That's all I'm going to say about my love it, because
I'll give you that.
Luke is great.
And you're hating.
My hate it. I'm gonna point to the whole casino scene as like because that was no one has to explain to me what it did in the plot. I just think it was pointless because it was this weird side quest, and I hated that was what Finn spent all of his time doing, because Finn is a better character than that, and they didn't really utilize him well. And I hated that whole side quest. Every time we were jumping away, we were already leaving the fleet that's trying to get away from the Empire to spend time with Rey, but now we're jumping over to this side quest, so we're spending even less time away from the fleet. So we're losing the stakes and the of the fear of what's going to happen to them as they're slowly being picked off. And ultimately for me, that comes down to I've already, like, I just talked with Kyle's points about how there are some amazing points in this movie and moments in this movie and scenes in this movie, but how it was stitched together in a plot structure, I think, was a little overbloated and messy. This movie could have severely benefited from cutting out that whole casino scene, saving us like 30 minutes, and tightening up some of the other points and transitions.
So let me
It basically creating drama for this without the need to create drama.
wait.
And I know what your hate it point is going to be.
No. My hate it point is going to be this. That
But
casino,
but I don't want to
casino
jump
scene,
to it. I don't want to jump to it yet.
That casino scene with any other writer other than Rian Johnson would have been great. It would have been great. But Rian Johnson is a let me teach you a lesson kind of writer. He did it with Looper. He did it with Brothers Bloom. He did it with Brick. He is the kind of person that says, I'm going to write a story, and in it, I'm going to bury a lesson that you have to learn. And apparently this movie was don't be mean to animals. And that was the point of going to the casino. But going
and the rich profit off the poor in
Exactly.
war, which I don't mind a lesson in a movie, but you gotta put it in a nice organic,
That-
clean way, not shoved into the
But
side.
that casino scene without that subtext of "let me teach you a lesson" and more world, like more information,
World building, more.
yeah, more world building than lesson learning, we would not be complaining about it.
Correct.
Yeah, like,
no,
I would have
if-
loved to have seen
if
that
that
whole world of the casino. Like they went
if-
somewhere, like they went to the casino and they went to other parts of that planet. And lit.
Agreed. If that had been a part of the main plot of the movie and not a weird side quest, love it, because I'm all for
No,
world building.
I
I'm all
say
for us
even-
getting away.
Even as a side quest, it's, from my perspective, it's fine.
The-
Even
Yeah, but
as
this-
a
this-
side quest without the lessons, without don't be mean to animals and the rich are the worst, it's a totally fine subplot.
I think it could have been.
I
I
mean-
think the scene as it stands right now with Ryan could have been cut in half, and we could have had a scene with Rose and the little boy giving the ring,
Right.
and we would have had that moment,
And that would
and we
be
would
great.
have not had any of the animal part.
Yep.
And they would have gotten off on a ship they would have found, and they would have run across the dude because he was piloting the ship. Like even going into the dungeon took too long.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was
And, yeah.
I mean, they had to have a way to meet DJ.
it was
I mean,
unnecessary
I
essentially
could've
for
done
the
without-
sake of being unnecessary.
I could have done without DJ too. Like that's my whole point. Is that like it was underused Benicio del Toro. It was an underused use of Finn, and I'm like I think Rose could be a much cooler character, but we didn't get to really see her
Yeah.
do anything
And
of importance.
Yeah, and we'll talk
ultimately
about
the drum.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about
I'll get
that
to-
at the end
Okay.
with the what to look forward to. But
Yeah.
Dane, what's your love it and hate it?
Okay, so my love it. I was gonna say it was just a scene, but actually my real love it was Kylo Ren.
Agreed.
Yes.
100% agreed.
Which is
Like-
a 180 from The Force Awakens. He
Yeah,
Agreed.
He
but
was
here's-
the
here's
hardest
my reason.
character, one of the hardest
No,
characters to watch.
I loved him in The Force Awakens, and this cemented my love of him
I agree
because
with
of
you, Dane.
simple.
I agree
In
with you
The
for
Force
sure.
Awakens, he wanted to be Vader, right? But he was just a rage-filled, bratty kid. And then in this movie, he's starting to come into his own, but he still hasn't yet, and he's still a raging, bratty kid. And the reason that it proves he's still a raging, bratty kid is the scene that I was going to say is my love it, and that's when Luke's Force illusion fights Kylo. Kylo was, because he knew that was going to, Luke already knew Kylo was going to let rage control him the moment he saw him.
Right.
Because if Kylo had focused, he would have noticed Luke was holding the lightsaber that he had just destroyed with Rey.
Yes.
But-
yes.
But he saw that lightsaber probably. But he saw that lightsaber, still thought about it being his family birthright, and didn't even think a second. The other moment that made me just get super hyped about that scene was Luke did that Force illusion specifically for Kylo. He came up. He had the
Right.
dice that stayed behind as a reminder that he killed Han. And the one that got me was Luke didn't come to Kylo like he looks now. Luke came to Kylo the last
he
time Kylo saw him.
Right.
yeah.
And that was
And-
my favorite. That made him lose all focus whatsoever and still prove that he's got a long way to go in terms of being as powerful as he could be.
Yeah, I agree. And then there was even a moment, the moment that I knew something was up. Like I saw this lightsaber, I was like, wait a minute, it didn't just. But then I thought maybe he had another one. I just saw it. But the moment when the two of them are facing off, and Kylo moves his foot on the ground, and it pushes the white salt aside, you see the red earth, and then
Yeah.
Luke does the same, and
it
it doesn't do
doesn't?
anything. And I saw that, I was like, he's not there. He's
I
not
didn't
there.
even notice
I did
that.
not catch
Oh
that.
Yeah.
man, I was.
Oh,
I was.
I c-
It was so awesome. Like that moment, moments like that show why Ryan Johnson is a great director.
Also,
And-
the just the shoulder brush off was just
Oh, yeah.
A1. When he just walks out and just dusts the shoulders off. Oh,
I
it
thought
was so
that was
good.
the-
to me.
one of the dumber things in the movie.
Yeah, that was really stupid, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark Hamill was doing that for like.
Oh,
you could
yeah,
tell
no.
Mark Hamill loved doing that. I feel like that was probably Mark Hamill's decision. He was like,
Yeah, it was just it wasn't a Luke Skywalker thing to do.
I felt like he was taunting Kylo.
Yeah. And Luke
Yeah,
doesn't
by doing
taunt
that.
people.
Yeah,
He doesn't taunt people.
I didn't feel
He-
like
he
it
was
was in his character to do that.
But it still ties back to the whole he's just doing it to piss Kylo off to keep him distracted.
Right.
He wants Kylo focused on him.
So, what was your hate it?
So, and it's kind of it's kind of the same thing. And it's part of like what I agree with on Kris in terms of when he said how they stitch it together. But Laura Dern's character, like Hondo,
Hondo.
and it's Hondo. That's not Holdo. Hondo. To me, it wasn't that she's worthless. It was that her character, much like the casino story with DJ, and much like most of the movie, all stems from one thing, and it's that line that Yoda says about failure being the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing that happens in this movie, it's like them learning from royally screwing up. Like, what happened? Like, what? Finn does that stupid mission at the casino. What happens? He ends up getting with DJ, who ends up betraying them all. And it's all a mission that Poe did because he didn't want to listen to Hondo. And even then, Hondo realizes she messes up because she's the one who didn't tell Poe what was going on in the first place.
Right.
And that's like
there was no reason for her to not give her plan in this movie.
exactly
That was so that we the audience would know.
Like all the but basically like yeah, what I'm saying is like that her character literally just served to be for Poe to learn how to be a better leader. Like that's all she did for the whole movie was like everything she does. Like she comes and argues with Poe, and then something happens, and it's like, oh, now instantly Poe realizes what it takes to be a leader because of something she did, and then she does that awesome light speed blast through the ship.
Which I honestly, I wish like Admiral Akbar had been the one to do that because I feel like that would have landed more emotionally for me.
That would have landed more emotionally, and I think they would have done that had not the actor who played him died.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take your hate it, and I'm gonna piggyback off of it and talk about my hate it, because my hate it was the way that Poe's demotion was handled.
That was weird.
And it was really like, so from where I sat as a viewer, it was Carrie Fisher or Princess Leia, like having a good rapport with Poe Dameron, and like, you're demoted. Like, how dare you do that? You're fired. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even though it was a huge, colossal loss.
Yeah.
For the rebellion, but it seemed like, at least the conversation seemed like it was more like it wasn't a sincere demotion. And then we get into like all the crazy stuff that happens, and she winds up in like the medical ward, and Hondo takes over and like immediately cuts out Poe because he's a captain, not a commander, because it was her last thing to demote him. And for
even though he's only over, like, they only have like 20 ships left anyway, so he's still kind of important.
But like, the thing for me is like, his importance doesn't matter, because like, if I come into a job as a person in leadership, and there is someone that is highly regarded by my predecessor, I'm not going to immediately like
leave him out.
Yeah, leave them out of everything. And that's what happened. And I think that for me, that's why Hondo was such a bad character, is because she was a bad leader. It's like, it was easy to hate. It was easy to not like that character because she was a bad leader, and it almost felt like bad writing because she was so bad at leading.
Yeah. I also I don't think we as the viewer had any attachment to her.
No.
So her sacrifice meant zero.
Nothing.
And I know why they didn't do this, because they couldn't do it because it wouldn't make any sense, like with shots later in the movie, but it would have made more sense to let Leia do that, and for us to be all really, really sad that Leia's died. and
because
like
Carrie Fisher has
and
died.
us to be distrustful of this new leader, that would have been a more complex character for us to have for future movies.
Right.
Because who's this Laura Dern person who doesn't trust the people that's around her, and do we have reason to suspect her or whatever? Like, so the scene between Luke and Leia at the end was great, right?
Right.
That scene was great. That scene had to be in the movie.
But it was. I mean, they were
done shooting the movie.
They were
and I get
done
that.
when Carrie Fisher
But
died.
Carrie
like,
Fisher's dead. But like,
Right.
but that didn't stop them from putting her in Force Awakens. Like they could have
Or Rogue
figured
One,
out
you
a
mean.
no Force
Rogue
Awakens.
One.
They made her young.
that was Rogue One.
Rogue One.
No. Oh yeah, that was Rogue One. Yeah, you're right. they found a way to put her in that,
Yeah.
and like they could have given Leia a send off she deserved. Leia gets no send off.
Yeah,
From this movie.
from this movie. I mean, who knows what
And
the
then we're
future
gonna get
will
a
hold.
stupid CGI version of Carrie Fisher in the next movie
For
and,
like 30
They
seconds.
won't.
and it's gonna be an
No, they
explosion.
won't.
Oh no, they won't
like-
because they don't have
They are-
don't have permission from her family, so she will be written out of Star Wars.
So that's even
Yep.
worse.
Yep.
That's even worse.
But
in
you
my
will
opinion.
cry at that dialogue. So
I guarantee you they will have like a nondescript shot of like the ship she was in getting destroyed or something.
I don't know.
That's the worst way for Leia to go out.
Yeah.
Sorry. It just I
But we can't speculate about that. And I
I
really
mean,
need to
I didn't
finish.
say it was a good way for her to go out, but I guarantee.
wasn't saying you were. I'm just saying like so the Hondo and the Leia situation put together was another element like
So for me,
of
it was
why that was
for
Yeah.
me it was Poe. It was how it impacted Poe's character in the movie. That was one thing that I hated because I like Poe so much, and the way that that Hondo came in and said, "You're not important,"
Yeah.
and then we essentially don't see anything out of Poe until like transport vehicles
Salt
start
Land.
getting blown up.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so I didn't like that. My love it was honestly super embarrassing for me because it was when Hondo drove the cruiser at warp speed into Snoke's ship,
Oh, that shot.
And-
So
and like
Baller.
it's so loud and there's so much things going on, and like the warp speed revs up and it shows you like from the captain's perspective the stars start stretching like they do right before
Yep.
the jump, and then the jump happens and every ship gets split in half, every one of them, and it goes pin drop silent in the theater, which
I love that because it's like they knew everyone was gonna be in awe, so they just left it so everyone could
well,
be.
and that's what
Just
it would
let you
be
absorb
like.
it, yeah.
That's what it would be like in space.
Yeah.
It would make no
Yeah,
noise.
exactly.
But like when it happened, I went, "Woo!" And immediately I was the only one in the theater that made any noise, but I was just so like taken aback by how awesome that moment was.
You can imagine. I did the same thing, but knowing me, you can imagine I was swearing.
Yeah,
I want that shot on. I want that shot on my wall.
I was next
I
to
want
like
that
an
canvas.
8-year-old boy.
There was one next to my girlfriend. And I was like, ugh.
that shot is quintessential rebellion like attitude towards the Force. We will not stand for this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's one of the best shots in all of Star Wars.
Yes. It was so good.
Yeah.
I wish it had been with a more impactful character that I cared about.
Fair. But
Fair enough.
she did carry some clout within the rebellion, and that was
That we don't understand or have experienced
that.
before.
But that was forced upon us, and we have no emotional connection to that character. I get that. It should have been with Princess Leia. Quit trying to rewrite the movie, Kyle.
I wanted to have been a different movie with some of the
If you
same
wish-
shots.
If you wish hard enough, we'll move to a different timeline, and you'll get the movie you want. Just
Just go to-
believe, Kyle. Believe.
Go to Earth 2 and watch Star Wars: The First Jedi, and you'll
That'd be great.
Star
A
Wars,
regular
the
hope.
space battles, the first ninja sword.
the first ninja sword. That's what it would be.
Space Wizards.
So all of these things we've talked about.
Phasma's stupid spindly sword was so dumb. Oh my gosh, I have so
I
many things to complain
I
about.
don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk
I
about
don't care.
anything Gwendolyn Christie because I still don't
I loved
understand why she's in this movie. But
guess what? You know what she did? She did the same thing that everyone else did. She did the Boba Fett. Everyone thinks you're a cool character, and they get their ass handed to them.
yeah,
That's
but
all.
we have
That's it.
another movie coming up. We have the solo film, which next year that's going to be a filler.
It's gonna be
So
great.
we don't know when that's going to take place. But then we have
It will be included in my rankings.
then we have episode 9. It will be included in my rankings too. It's just I won't tier.
Not his official rankings.
I will not tier the episodes and include an auxiliary tale. But we have another episode 9, coming out 2020 or 2019.
2019.
2019. So things to expect. The First Order is gonna fall, maybe.
Maybe the First Order
We get-
wins.
Maybe.
Maybe
We get to
they
see
will do something original and not end it like
We get to see
Return of the Jedi.
Kylo throw. We get to see Kylo throw his second in command guy into the wall about 20 more times.
Man,
Because that's
General
good
Hux.
leadership.
General Hux sucks.
I love him.
God!
I love him.
His whole leadership style is yelling
I just love.
And complaining.
Every time he gets
and
hurt,
complaining.
I get happy.
Right?
But we
Like,
get-
when Kylo just tossed him against the wall.
That was great.
Oh,
And
I
so
was like,
shit.
I just felt like the most like pure joy, like fuel my body.
So things that we get to see in episode 9, we get to see Rose hopefully become a deep character
or not show up.
or not show up. I would like to have more of this character that was thrust upon me to make her into a character that I care about.
Yeah.
Nah.
And then we get
That
to
is
see
the Finn.
Princess Leia die.
Poe or Finn get the Force.
Poe or Finn get the Force.
Can Finn get the Force, please? He's already a better sword fighter than Rey is.
We get to see Rey and Kylo face off.
Another dreadnought get destroyed by one X-wing fighter.
It was
No, it was one X-wing fighter.
no, the
No,
guns
no,
were
no,
taken out by one X-wing fighter.
Oh, that's
I
right.
wanna-
It was
that's right.
destroyed by
Oh,
one
yeah.
bomber.
Oh,
But
that's right.
they drop bombs in zero gravity space.
No, they don't. They are actually discharged electromagnetically, and they magnetically attach to the hull of the ship.
Once they struck the hull, yeah.
Guys,
Yeah,
can
but
we
they're
not
falling
say,
out of
Can
the
we not
hull.
say the whole anymore?
The hull
Of the dreadnought
Oh.
that's supposed to be the best ship in the galaxy. Got
The
just
dread
taken
the
by-
dread hole.
Okay, so we get Rey and Kylo face off for sure, and it's gonna be awesome.
Sure.
There
Kylo
was
Ren's
not a
gonna lose a hand.
lightsaber fight in this movie.
Nope, there was no lightsaber duel.
There was a lightsaber fight.
There was a
like
clash.
team up.
There was a clash.
No,
It was
there
the
was a-
clash
no,
between Luke
Kylo
and
and,
Kylo.
Luke.
no, Kylo and Rey fighting off the Imperial guards.
But there was no lightsaber to lightsaber fight.
That's what I just said.
Kylo
Is
and
that,
Luke at the end.
but they didn't. There was no lightsaber to lightsaber contact
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
because
I think we're all
he was
agreeing.
avoiding him the whole time because he was a hologram.
The Matrix little
Yep.
little sweep across
Yeah.
the ground was pretty sweet.
So
Never seen stolen.
other things we get. You can't say that a Dodge was stolen from the Matrix. The Matrix was not the first movie to dodge something.
Do something. Maybe they'll
I'm
do something
done.
original in the third film of this trilogy.
Yeah,
I will fight
birth
you.
a baby
I will
or
I will
something.
fight you.
I don't. You just said that dodging was original to the
Over
Matrix.
this 60%
Um,
rated by people on Rotten Tomatoes who viewed it movie. I'll fight you too.
Hey guys, can we just all agree that, as we just said, at least this trilogy is better than the Hobbit trilogy?
And the prequels.
And it's not even
Yeah,
done.
prequel trilogy.
Listen,
And the prequels?
Here's the
It's
thing.
not even
there
done.
were like 113 sets used for The Last Jedi. So thank you for using sets and not.
Yes.
And though there
Okay.
was a lot of blue screen,
Green screen.
it's the same thing. Though there was a lot of green screen, it wasn't so bad at any given moment that I could tell.
I'm
No.
still
Ewoks.
Puppet
what we were
Yoda.
And
expecting.
thank you.
Ewoks.
Yeah, we had Muppet Yoda.
We are
so-
not expecting Ewoks, but if Wicket comes back, I'm throwing a party. I love the
Hey,
Ewoks, and we will fight about it.
Warwick Davis has been in every Star Wars movie. Who's to say he can't play Wicket in this one?
Boom. But we're gonna get a lot of cool stuff. We're gonna get some resolution to.
Some sort of problem that we aren't aware of.
I mean, it's First Order versus Rebellion.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
that's the problem.
Yeah,
there.
there's not a Death Star to go destroy again. They learned their
not.
lesson
That we know
finally
of.
after the third.
They'll be
try.
rebuilding Starkiller Base.
Hopefully, they don't try to build a fourth Death Star. But we do have the Solo film, the Han Solo movie, coming out. In between then, we've got a lot of cool stuff for Star Wars still, and we will.
Nice.
We will continue to cover it and get in fights on the air about how nitpicky Kyle is. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
How right he is.
About how nitpicky he is. How right he is about being nitpicky. But on average score, out of Between the Cons for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is a 7.6. So, good movie.
Go see it.
Yeah, still go see it. I think we can all agree you should go see it. It was a great time, and it was Star Wars. And honestly, if it wasn't Star Wars, none of us would care enough to fight about it.
Absolutely.
That's the truth.
But go watch it. Check us out on the internet, betweenthecons.com. Subscribe to the show. We are going to be taking the next week off. No Thursday episode, no Monday episode, no Thursday episode. And then we'll be back. So 2 weeks from today, we'll be back with an episode for you guys.
What day is that?
Enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah,
And a Happy New Year.
how you do that Kwanzaa. You guys have.
How you do that, Kwanzaa?
I don't know. Do they just say Happy Kwanzaa? Dane,
Yes.
you have dreads.
Actually,
Yeah.
Corey, they also yell Harambe.
That's not it.
I don't believe that.
Y'all Harambe.
No, that is a real thing. Harambe. And they do yell Harambe.
Harambe dat Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate anything, enjoy the free Monday off. You guys